with Faraz Shaukat.
Good morning and welcome to Newsline, live from the Newsfirst studios in Dawson Street in Colombo. And this morning, following the darkness of last night, I'm joined by a retired former chairman of the Bank of Ceylon and the senior banker and trade unionist, Mr. Rusaripala Tennakoon. Good morning, Mr. Rusaripala.
Good morning, Father.
Delighted to have you on our program, as always. Mr. Rusaripala, last night, since 1996, we haven't had such an all-encompassing power, an island-wide power cut. What on earth do you think all these tourists, we are in high season, what do you think they're going to think?
Yeah, I think we are beginning to experience the blackouts. It looks like, I don't know, this is a series of we have had during the last 6 months time. This is the third occasion and the longest, I should say, the blackout. What is intriguing here is more than the blackout itself, which can be due to a technical reason. The authorities have not been able to explain or give a plausible explanation as to why this is happening. I mean, this is more, public will be more concerned about such a situation than the difficulties that they experience. And
of course we have had a statement almost, during the power cut actually, from the chairman of the CEB that he will resign soon after the power is restored. He's probably writing his note now, which is very commendable for taking responsibility. But you'd imagine that this is a very serious matter. It's connected to the development, it's connected to the attraction of inward investment, apart from the comfort of the basic human right of having power, continuous power. Serious matters.
Exactly. Now this, fortunately this did not happen a few days, at least 4 or 5 days ago, when there was a international convention here about investment promotion.
Yes.
Because if it happened at a time like that, they would have felt, I mean, where are we going to go into this country where there is no assurance of power or electricity or energy?
Because we've had a member of the public reminding us that the CEB has reported in the news feeds this morning, have identified the cause of the blackout as being due to an explosion and damage to a major transformer at the Birgama receiving station. Now we have it. But it is astonishing that, but what can we do? If it's a once-in-a-way occurrence, we can handle it.
No, we have to sort of bear with such things, these things can happen, but it calls for consideration of, alternate measures in a situation like this.
Yeah.
Now we have thermal power, we have hydropower, we have coal power. I mean, all these things, they should be able to manage it or maneuver it in such a way that in the event of an emergency, that there is one power line which is standby.
One of my notes this morning, to discuss with you, to pose a question to you, is this power cut and the ones previously which we've had over the last few months, is it connected in some sort of crazy, perverse sort of manner of trying to add weight to the proposal to have another coal power plant, which is in Sampur, which the Prime Minister is intent on giving it to India? So I am thinking to myself, I mean, I'm not the big, I'm not trying to make any predictions, but I can see the makings of conspiracy. That's why I said a perverse sort of justification.
For us, it's not unlikely that such attributions, can be made, because looking at what is happening in the country, the statements made, what exactly is happening, what is the real situation in the background. Considering all this, you see, it's not wrong for one to come to such conclusions, because the concerns, the commitments made may be so great that they'll have to pave the way to fulfill those. Whatever the other consequences are. So creating a environment for such things is politically possible. That's politically possible.
And also, when you have this sort of government where it's split, or they call it national government, but they sort of consensual government, it's easy to hide who's doing what.
Yes, it is. Definitely, we have seen, we have observed, and we are experiencing that there is no consensus in the government, as a government, on economic policy and their general policy even. A lot of differences are visible, surfacing at different times. So what you say is correct. There's the time is opportune and right and correct for real consensus to be there in the government to face up to a situation which is not there.
Yes, I have a viewer who says, he's probably an engineer or some technical person, because he says the issue is the transmission line. It needs to be upgraded and a colossal capital investment is required for the same. Well, with all the money that they're saving from cheaper power that has come in the form of Norachole, surely they have a dearth of funds now. The world energy price is down anyway. Well, our bills aren't down.
Yeah, they say that. But say what the Petroleum Corporation has to say is that they still owe a colossal amount as the CEB to the.
So they're retiring debt.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's another viewer says that LNG power should be brought in. Engineers Union of the CEB engineers have a stranglehold on power supply which should be broken. Another viewer, this obviously touched the people's hearts and minds. An issue that exists is over the years CEB is purchasing power that is generated from thermal at very high rates. These need to be standardized. Well, that's true, but if you had LNG power, it would be very cheap. But there's again, we need to be an investment in LNG.
Again, it is a question of policy, the proper planning, and also the ability to break monopolies if they do exist.
Do you think that the forthcoming visit to China of our dear Prime Minister is? Do you think he might take that opportunity to talk LNG? What do you think?
Well, I have a different opinion. Well, I don't know. He may be well disposed towards canvassing or proposing to the Chinese government to do that, but or the companies or the investors whom he meets. But you see, look at the statements made by some of the ministers in the cabinet. I mean, which is not very conducive to creation of a good relationship with a foreign country like that.
That's right.
The junior minister of one junior minister, or I don't know whether he's a cabinet minister, he said that Norachole, he was accusing the Chinese investors and the producers for faults in the Norachole plant. But whereas this happened in 2005, and the entire our engineers, our consultants, our experts, all were involved in the project. So there is no way how we can attribute some fault or something to a Chinese.
Yes, actually, these designs and so on were approved before President Rajapaksa came into power.
Definitely.
And it was actually approved. Much of the project was approved in the time of President Kumaratunga.
Yes.
I think that we need to make these points relevant.
Yes, it is very relevant.
And also there is no need to have this other power station in Sampur. For example, it could, if you turned Kerawalapitia into LNG, then we'd not need these additional costs that are associated with it. But like you say, how do you think China will react when you have this little, this prime minister from that tiny little country? They sent their president to open the Port City project.
Yes.
But now we're told that there is going to be some form of compensation. Now all this compensation scenario has been brought about, in my view, because of this government, Mr. Wickremesinghe's government. They announced that it's going to be stopped, it has to be investigated and so on. I think there's a good case for the FCID to investigate why these state resources have been squandered in this way. It's 100 million that we don't have.
I think it's a good thing maybe for the future investigations of the FCID, if such a thing exists in the future.
Yes.
But all what we know is, as members of the public, we were very inquisitive to know the real truth behind the Port City project. We were told that there is a massive corruption involved in it. There was misplanning, mismanagement, and then there were a lot of draining of funds and costing the country unnecessarily. All kinds of things were told to us. So we were waiting as members of the public to see what really comes out of it. But now the situation is entirely different. This government, which was claiming that this was a bad thing, this should not have been done, it was done in the wrong way, and it was not needed. Now they go and pay compensation for their follies, and they want to continue with the project with the same people.
Yes, which they knew all along would happen anyway, because you don't stick your fingers up at China, not when they've sent their president here.
Yeah, not in the current situation for us.
Also, this is all almost the same as their takes on different other projects. They criticized heavily Maktala Airport, and now we're told that they're going to turn it into a hub for cargo and maintenance and so on. Hambantota Port was derided. Now they're actually carrying on with phase 2 of that. So it looks like all these things. I think what people also need to know is that the second airport and the second port was all contained in regaining Sri Lanka. The proposal put forward by the Prime Minister in 2000 and whenever, 1, 2, that time. But, Mr. Rusipale, as you know, we're doing our Gammadda program. We've uncovered shocking details of the helplessness, let alone the poverty and the lack of opportunity of scores of people in rural Sri Lanka. So, what do we need? Poverty eradication, or do we need constitutional reform?
Yeah.
What is it?
This clearly shows
members of parliament paying themselves more money. But is it poverty or constitutional reform? What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a very clear example of the economic mix-up and the policy mix-up that this government is confronted with. Unfortunately, they have lost in their game of selecting what the priorities should be for this country. And fortunately for us, at least the media today, like the stations, your station, they have got into the task of at least exposing what the reality is in the country, which will be an eye-opener for these people to rethink of setting their priorities in the order of their economic planning. I think in this, in several programs in this station. We have voiced this opinion. We have said that the priority should be to address immediately the concerns of the people, the concerns that have been there for many years unattended, or should have been fallen in line with the second stage of after the war, the situation that came up. In that situation, they should have given priority to address those issues. So now somebody is exposing it. It is good, but definitely there is a mix-up in the priorities and also mix-up in the policy determinations by the government.
Indeed. Progress lies not in enhancing what is, but in advancing toward what will be. To find out more and to discuss that aspect, join us after this short break.
Newsfirst Newsline. Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Good morning again and welcome back to Newsline, where we're joined by Mr. Rusripala Tenakuna, retired former chairman of the Bank of Ceylon, trade unionist amongst other things. Mr. Rusripala, we should be working towards what the future holds. It's always a good thing. But how on earth do we do that? There seems to be a veritable breakdown in the law and order position in this country. We've had so many shootings reported. We had the case of these 5 people being found in a burnt-out van. It seems as though we are returning to some sort of bad age. It's almost as though, and it doesn't all go well, that the economy is struggling, and then we have law and order coming into fore.
I'm sure that this the present situation that we are experiencing is something very unfortunate and very bad at this moment, because economically this is a time that we are stretching our hands, both hands outwards, asking people to come in, make investments, and telling them that the environment is okay, we have law and order here. But to see suddenly the springing up of this Patale thing, underworld, in this form, after so many years, after silence of many months, that this is springing up in this form, is very questionable.
It is. You say that the time is right to to highlight to highlight opportunity Sri Lanka, the opportunities that Sri Lanka presents for investors and so on. Well, how can we instill confidence when we have a situation, as reported in the Sunday papers by I think it was Ceylon Today writing on that aspect. A plot of prime land in Colombo, around 230 odd purchase, was ordered. The ministry secretary was in some form of trouble, and he was ordered to give this to a certain party who had made an unsolicited bid. But yet, if I remember rightly, in March 2015, under the signature, under the hand of our dear Prime Minister, was a note to Cabinet colleagues that no unsolicited proposals should be entertained as a matter of policy. How can we instill confidence?
I think there are certain areas where we cannot reconcile, between the statements made and what is really in operation in the country.
A bit like the budget, then.
Yeah, the budget is one thing, of course, and then this the fact about the unsolicited tenders, unsolicited contracts and things like that,
Yeah.
So if this is happening, if this continues, really it is a confidence issue.
We also have a strange case, which I thought you may be aware of. It's an investment forum being held in Singapore. and where the keynote speaker is going to be the governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, and I believe the Minister of Finance is also going to address this. A number of other agencies are taking part in this matter. But, Mr. Rusipali, do you know that this is being apparently funded by a private company, connected by marriage to the governor of the Central Bank?
Yes, yes. What we read about this was, again, we were alarmed to see that this was this highly questioned company. The name behind which was related to the bond issue of the central bank. You know, that company is initiating in this program, and it is not going. It is not propagated as a private sector oriented issue, or rather event. It is been given the governmental state, or the status of the state,
As though, so what you're saying is that
by the participation of the finance minister and the governor of the central bank.
yeah, but is it wrong for a private company to have such a forum and pay for it and invite? Can we term it patriotism?
Well, you can attribute any kind of motive to such things, but it remains questionable, because the background situation, what we know, there are so many areas that we are not clear of yet about this the bond issue and the involvement of this particular company in the bond issue. When that is there pending, and when such a thing is happening in the association, in the company of the same interested parties, you know, everybody will look at it in a different way.
I also noticed something a little even more almost puzzling, was the call, as reported in the Sunday papers, of the former Defence Secretary, Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa, is calling for. He's suggesting that a full and fair inquiry must be held in terms of the Lasantha Wickrematunge murder. Now, I found that rather interesting.
It is definitely, because in the minds of the public, you know, it was so propagated,
yeah,
that, you know, this was perpetrated by, you know,
by the government,
by the government, and naturally, when you accuse the government, or when you allege that the government is involved, the defense ministry and so on.
Yeah.
So, but now the very fact that the former defense secretary is himself asking to hold an inquiry independent about that incident, I mean, throws much light, you know, to relieve the people, you know, give them another sort of open place to think. Well, this may have happened in a different way than what we were presuming things how it happened. So it's a good thing that he did it.
Another paper suggests that Ranil Wickremesinghe, for all his berreting of President Rajapaksa of accumulating power and perpetuating family rule and control over budgets, where the Rajapaksa is supposed to have control over 70% of the national budget. Another newspaper is suggesting that actually Ranil Wickremesinghe is also in the process of accumulating power and control. And do you think he should be the Minister of Finance?
Well, the situation that we saw was, you know, I wish to recall an incident in the history of our parliament.
Yeah.
You know, Mr. Felix Das Bandaranayake,
Yeah.
late Mr. Bandaranayake.
Yeah.
He was the Minister of Finance, and he brought a proposal, you know, about this rice ration at that time.
Was he the Minister of Finance? I thought it was Dr. N. M. Pereira.
No, before that.
Right.
Before that, under the SLFE government,
I see.
when he was the Minister of Finance, there was this issue about the rice ration.
Yeah.
And he wanted to reduce it to 2 measures.
Yeah.
His own government opposed it.
Right.
He resigned then and there.
Right.
he resigned, and the portfolio was given to late Mr. Ilangaratne.
Right.
I mean, that was the time when there were controversies. But here is a situation where the finance minister presents a budget. He has shown the rest of the world that he has failed to project the economic scenario 4 months hence. What is how can you?
I blame the Prime Minister, because the Prime Minister has split the Ministry of Finance into 3 different parts, a minimum of 3 parts. We have Kabir Hashim with public enterprise, we have Malik Samaravikrama with investment promotion and trade, international trade, and we have the actual finance minister who is doing some work. But in between all this, we have the Prime Minister sticking his fingers in this little pie too.
There are a lot of unprecedented things happening for us, you know. Now, what we are used to is the president of the country or the head of the government makes a policy statement to parliament, followed by the finance minister presenting his budget.
Yeah.
But here we see a situation in between. After the president makes the declaration opening of the parliament and makes his statement, the prime minister makes a policy statement, and the finance minister goes and presents his budget.
Yeah.
And now we find both are not aligned to each other. So there are so many contradictions, and ultimately, finally, within a short spell of 4 months, the Prime Minister has to come forward and make a mini budget presentation of another budget like.
Does that mean that only the Prime Minister knows what's going on?
Exactly. I think there is something that everybody should take note of, you know, in this government. What is really happening now? You are accusing President Mahinda Rajapaksa of bringing his family members and controlling the finances. But what is happening now? All the ministries, almost all the ministries where foreign investment is concerned and all these things are directly, indirectly linked to the Prime Minister.
And in any event, they all end up in the Economic Development Committee, and where, again, one Ranil Wickremesinghe, also known as the Prime Minister, is in the chair.
Yes. There is a sense of drastic control, I should say, in the affairs of the ministries happening today,
draconian, I think,
which is not expected under the, you know, these good governance practices that the people expected the government to perform.
We have a question from a viewer. Shouldn't one ask the question why Gotabaya Rajapaksa is asking for a full probe on Lasantha Wickremesinghe now rather than sorry, somebody's also trying to call us. Shouldn't Gotabaya ask us why for this inquiry when he was having the reins of power? A valid question, because why wait for so long afterwards? We are in our 7th year of losing that fine man, Lasantha Wickremesinghe.
I think the best answer to that would be when an inquiry is conducted and we are told what exactly happened, we will know why he did not ask.
Indeed. Indeed. You know, it's good that these our viewers are coming and asking these questions. So I'd like to remind our viewers that the Newsline team is visiting Batikalo over the next few days, along with our Gammadda door-to-door program, where we are uncovering abject poverty, helplessness, and a complete lack of the basic human rights in rural Sri Lanka. So we look forward to you joining us whilst we cover these very serious issues. Mr. Rusri Palatenakun, thank you very much. We're coming to the end of our program this morning. Nice to have you here, and we look forward to, if you like, you can come and be part of the door-to-door campaign.
Certainly, I would love to do that, because that's in our hearts. You know, what you are showing is what was in our hearts, really.
Thank you. And on that note, I'll wish you a very good morning. Thank you for watching Newsline. Take care and God bless.
Newsfirst, Newsline.